The first time I understood my ex had not just taken my daughter from me, but erased me. I was standing on my porch with a pink envelope in my hand. It was the birthday card I had mailed to Lily. The corner was bent. The stamp had been smeared by rain. Across the front, in blocky black print, someone had marked it, "Return to sender." Under that was another line, colder than the first, "Recipient unavailable." My daughter was 8 years old. She was not unavailable. She was not a package, a closed office, or a disconnected number. She was my child, and 3 weeks earlier, she had still been falling asleep with her cheek pressed against my shoulder. I stood there until my fingers went numb around that envelope. Then I turned it over and saw the pressed daisy still trapped inside, flattened against the paper where Lily was supposed to find it. That was our thing. When Lily was 4, she found a daisy growing through a crack in the sidewalk outside our old apartment. She crouched down like she had discovered buried treasure and said, "Mom, it is trying really hard." After that, every birthday card had a daisy in it, real if I could find one, drawn if I could not. This one was real, tiny, pale, fragile, and unopened. I rubbed my thumbnail over the pale indentation where my wedding ring used to sit and told myself not to panic. That was the first lie I told myself that morning, because some part of me already knew. Mark never slammed doors when we were married. That would have been too honest. He preferred softer weapons, like a sigh when I disagreed with him, a smile that made me feel childish, or a sentence that sounded reasonable until I heard myself repeating it later. "You are too emotional, Claire. You always make things dramatic. You are confusing, Lily." Those were the lines he used before he took louder things, like my sleep, my confidence, my emergency money, and my right to say no. But Lily was the one place I had refused to shrink. She was my line. Lily had his brown eyes and my stubborn mouth, and she hated peas, but would eat them frozen if I called them tiny green ice cubes. She kept rocks in her coat pockets because she believed every rock had a personality. She named the dishwasher Brenda because it groaned like an old woman. She laughed so hard at her own jokes that she forgot to finish them. Before Mark and I split, our house had 2 climates. There was the weather when he was home, careful and tidy, with everything set down at the right angle. Lily and I both moved a little slower then. We used quieter voices. We did not leave crumbs on the counter. We did not play the kind of music that made us dance badly in socks. Then there was the weather when he was gone. That was when Lily and I made pancakes shaped like animals that looked nothing like animals. That was when she taped drawings to the refrigerator and announced, "Gallery openings for an audience of 1." That was when I let her eat cereal for dinner on Fridays, not because cereal was special, but because choosing it made her feel powerful. I valued those small rooms of peace more than Mark ever understood. He thought motherhood was something he could schedule around himself. I knew it was made of details too small for a man like him to respect, like the hair tie on my wrist or the half-finished juice box in the car cup holder. It was the way Lily reached for my hand before crossing a parking lot, even when she insisted she was too old to be reminded. After the separation, Mark did what he always did. He performed calm. He sent clean messages, polite ones, the kind that made him look stable and made me look suspicious for reading danger into them. Lily needs consistency. Let us not overwhelm her. She is adjusting. Please respect that. At first, I tried to cooperate. I hated myself for that later, but at the time, I thought I was protecting Lily from the mess. I thought if I stayed steady, Mark would eventually run out of ways to twist me. That was not weak. It was not foolish. It was just stupid in the way decent people are stupid when they assume indecent people have a bottom. The first week he kept Lily longer than agreed. He said she had a stomachache and did not want to travel. I asked to speak to her. He said she was sleeping. The next day, I asked again. She is still resting, he said. I asked what kind of stomachache lasted 2 days. He said, the kind that gets worse when her mother makes it about herself. I remember standing in my kitchen, holding the phone so tightly my knuckles hurt, staring at a cereal bowl Lily had painted at one of those pottery places. Purple flowers, uneven yellow dots, and her name written on the bottom in wobbly letters. I wanted to scream at him. Instead, I said, "Put her on the phone, Mark." He exhaled like I had exhausted him, then said, "She does not want to talk right now." That was the first crack. Not because Lily had never been upset with me. She had. She was a child. She got mad when I made her brush her hair, when I said no to another cartoon, and when I cut her sandwich wrong. But Lily always came back. Even when she was mad, she wanted me nearby. She would stand in the doorway pretending not to need me, saying, "I'm still mad," while climbing into my lap. She did not disappear for days. Mark knew that. He knew exactly what silence would do to me. By the second week, his messages got shorter. She needs space. Stop pushing. You are making this harder. I sent voice notes for Lily, small ones, nothing heavy. I told her Brenda, the dishwasher, was making strange noises again. I told her the plant in her window had grown 2 new leaves. I told her I found a rock in my coat pocket and suspected it was one of her citizens trying to escape. No answer. I mailed the birthday card because I needed something physical to reach her. I needed something Mark could not interrupt mid-sentence. I chose a card with a fox on it because Lily had decided foxes were cats with better plans. I wrote carefully, with no accusations and no pleading that would scare her. Happy birthday, my brave girl. I love you every minute, even the quiet ones. Mom. Then I tucked the daisy inside. I want you to remember that detail. Not because the daisy was evidence yet, and not because I had some clean plan forming in my head. I did not. I was still doing that terrible mother math where you count hours, messages, birthdays, and the last time you heard your child laugh. I mailed the card on a Monday. It came back on Friday. Recipient unavailable. I read that line so many times it stopped looking like English. I called Mark, and it went straight to voicemail. I texted him a photo of the envelope. No response. I called again. Nothing. By late afternoon, my whole body felt thin, like one more sound would split me open. I walked through the house touching Lily's things as if they could give me instructions. Her rain boots by the back door. Her blue toothbrush in the cup beside mine. The blanket she dragged from room to room. I sat on her bed and picked up the stuffed rabbit she had owned since she was 2. One ear was half detached. Mark used to say it looked disgusting and should be thrown out. Lily used to hold it against her chest and say, "He has experience." That was the kind of child she was, tender toward broken things. And Mark had her. I did not sleep that night. I lay in bed with my phone on my chest, waking every few minutes, even though I had not really fallen asleep. Every vibration turned me electric. Every junk email made my stomach drop. Around 3 in the morning, I opened my old photo folder and watched videos of Lily at 6, trying to teach Brenda, the dishwasher, to say good morning. Her voice filled the dark room. For a few seconds, I could breathe. Then the video ended. The next morning, I drove past Mark's place. I did not stop, knock, or bang on the door. His car was gone. The curtains were closed. A plastic scooter Lily used to ride was not on the porch anymore. That scared me more than if the house had looked messy. Mark was organized when he wanted to hide something. I drove home by the long route because I did not trust myself to make decisions near his street. On the way, I stopped at a grocery store for milk I did not need. I remember that because I stood in the dairy aisle staring at 6 kinds of milk and thinking, Lily likes the one with the red cap. That was where I saw Donna. Mark's mother was loading bags into her trunk in the parking lot, her gray hair pinned into the same hard twist she had worn to our wedding. Donna had always treated warmth like a currency she refused to spend on me. She loved Mark loudly and defended him before anyone accused him of anything. But she loved Lily too. At least, I had believed that. Donna, I called. She froze. Not turned, froze. Her shoulders lifted toward her ears, and for one clean second, I saw fear before she rearranged her face. When she looked at me, she did not look surprised in the normal way. She looked like I was not supposed to exist in that parking lot, like my presence had broken a rule I had not been told about. Claire, she said. Her voice was flat. I asked where Lily was. Donna looked past me, toward the store entrance, toward the traffic, anywhere but my face. You need to talk to Mark, she said. I told her I had tried and that he would not answer. She said, that is between you two. No, I said. It is between me and my daughter. Where is she? Donna shoved a bag into the trunk. A carton of eggs tipped sideways. She did not fix it. She is safe, Donna said. I asked if she was with Mark. Donna's mouth tightened. She is safe, she repeated, and there was something rehearsed about it, like a line handed to her before she left the house. My skin prickled. I asked if Lily knew I had been calling. Donna slammed the trunk too hard. A woman. 2 cars over glanced at us, then looked away. I barely noticed her. All I could see was Donna's hand gripping her keys so tightly that the metal teeth stuck between her fingers. Claire, Donna said, lower now. You should not be here. I stared at her. The words did not make sense at first. Not you should calm down. Not you should go home. Not even you should leave Mark alone. You should not be here. It sounded like I had crossed into a place where living people were not expected. I took 1 step closer. Donna took 1 step back. I asked why I should not be there. Her face changed again, a flash of panic, then anger, because anger was easier for her than guilt. She said, do not make a scene. I told her I was asking where my child was. And I am telling you to talk to Mark, she said. I reminded her that he would not answer me. Then she said, then maybe there is a reason. That one landed. I felt it hit the part of me Mark had spent years bruising without ever leaving marks, the part trained to wonder if I had done something wrong. The old reflex rose fast and ugly. Maybe I was too loud, too frantic, too much. Then I looked down. The returned birthday card was still on the passenger seat of my car, visible through the window. Pink envelope, black stamp, unopened daisy inside. No, this was not my shame. I rubbed my thumbnail over the missing ring mark on my finger and made myself speak evenly. Tell Lily I love her. Donna's eyes flicked to mine. For half a second, I thought she might crack. Then she got into her car and locked the doors before she even started the engine. I stood there as she backed out. She did not wave. She did not look through the windshield. She drove away like leaving quickly could erase the conversation. But she had already given me something. Not proof and not enough. A direction. I went home and placed the returned birthday card on the kitchen table. I did not throw it across the room. I did not tear it open. I slid it into a clear folder I found in the junk drawer, the kind Lily used for school papers and drawings she said were too important for regular paper life. Then I wrote down every word Donna had said. You should not be here. That sentence sat on the page like a locked door. And, for the first time since Mark stopped answering, I stopped begging the door to open. I started looking for the key. The key was not in Mark's house. That was the first thing I had to accept. For years, I had treated Mark like a locked door. I could open if I found the right tone. Softer, firmer, calmer, more reasonable, less emotional. I kept thinking there was some sentence that would make him stop punishing me through Lily. There was not. Mark did not misunderstand me. He understood exactly what he was doing. So I stopped calling him that afternoon. I stopped sending texts he could ignore and twist later. I sat at the kitchen table with the returned birthday card in its clear folder, opened a blank notebook, and wrote one sentence at the top. What can I prove? Not what I felt, not what I feared, not what I knew in my bones. Proof. The first thing I checked was the parent login I used for Lily's school updates. I had not wanted to drag school into anything. I still did not. But the account had been how I saw field trip reminders, lunch notes, art show photos, and the little scraps of her life that made distance less cruel. My password failed. I tried again. It failed again. I clicked the reset link and watched the screen load for so long my heartbeat started matching. The spinning circle. Then the message appeared. Access removed by account administrator. I sat back. Account administrator. That was Mark. It had always been Mark, because he liked being the person systems listened to. I took a screenshot. Then I took another, with the date visible in the corner of the screen. My hands shook so badly that the second screenshot was blurry, and I had to do it again. That was when I realized how much of my life with him had trained me to beg for access instead of documenting who had taken it. I opened my messages with Donna next. For several minutes, I only stared at the blank typing box. Donna was not on my side. She had never been on my side. But she had looked afraid in that parking lot, and fear makes careless people honest for half a second. I typed, deleted, and typed again. Finally, I sent, "Does Lily know I am alive?" The question looked insane on the screen, dramatic and impossible, the kind of sentence Mark would have held up as proof that I was unstable. But Donna's reply came 6 minutes later. "Do not start this." My fingers went cold. I typed back. What has he told her? No answer. I waited, forcing myself not to send 5 more messages. Then the little dots appeared. Donna wrote, "You need to leave this alone until after the service." I stopped breathing for a moment. Service, not birthday, not visit, not weekend. Service. I stared at that word until it sharpened into something ugly. I asked, "What service, Donna?" The dots appeared again, disappeared, appeared, and disappeared. Then she wrote, "After the service, she will stop asking questions." I took the screenshot before she could delete it. Then I printed it. Before I tell you what I found next, understand this. I still did not let myself believe it all the way. A mind will protect you from the worst shape of a thing until the proof drags it into the light. I kept telling myself maybe it was a memorial for someone else. Maybe Donna was talking about something I did not understand. Maybe there was an explanation that did not involve my daughter grieving me while I stood in my kitchen, with ink still warm on the paper. But my body knew. My body was already moving. I searched public memorial notices first. I hated myself for typing my own name into that kind of search, like I was checking whether the world had quietly filed me away. Nothing came up that told me enough. A few stale pages, some announcement boards, and a link that would not load properly. Then I remembered Mark's taste. He liked physical things when they made him look noble. Sympathy cards on mantles, programs printed thick and smooth, guest books with heavy covers. He liked props. Donna had said service, so I drove to the funeral chapel nearest Mark's side of town. It was not dramatic from the outside. Beige stone, trimmed shrubs, and a glass front door with tasteful gold lettering. A small memorial board stood in the entry area behind the glass, where upcoming services were displayed in neat rows. I parked across the street and sat with both hands on a wheel. For a while, I could not make myself get out, because once I walked up to that board, I would either find nothing and feel foolish, or find something no mother should ever have to see. My thumbnail found the groove where my ring used to be. Back and forth, back and forth. Then I got out. The air was cold enough to sting. My shoes sounded too loud on the walkway. I did not go inside at first. I only stepped close to the glass and looked at the memorial board. There were 4 programs pinned in a row: a man in his 70s, a woman named Margaret, a veteran with a flag printed beside his name, and me. My photo was from 8 years earlier, cropped from a family picture Mark had always liked because he looked good in it. My hair was longer then. Lily was a baby in the original, tucked against my hip, but Mark had cut her out. Claire Ellis, beloved mother, cherished daughter-in-law, taken too soon. The service date was the next morning. For a few seconds, my vision narrowed so hard, the edges of the board blurred. I had imagined danger, manipulation, and Mark telling Lily I had abandoned her. I had imagined him saying I was unwell, or that I did not want her. I had not imagined him killing me with stationery. A woman passed behind me on the sidewalk, and I forced myself to stay upright. I would not collapse in front of my own funeral announcement. Mark did not get that. I took a photo of the board, then another. Then I stepped inside. The lobby smelled like lilies and furniture polish. A man in a dark suit looked up from a desk. He had silver hair, careful posture, and the strained gentleness of someone used to meeting people on the worst days of their lives. "Can I help you?" he asked. I heard my own voice answer from far away. "I need a copy of the program for Claire Ellis." His face softened. "Of course. Are you family?" I almost laughed. "Yes," I said, "I am." He handed me a program from a stack on the side table. There I was again. My name, my photo, and a short paragraph about my kindness, my devotion to my daughter, and my sudden passing. No cause, no details, just enough emptiness for people to fill in with tragedy. Mark had written grief the way he wrote everything, clean, controlled, and useful. I looked at the back page. A note from Mark said, "Claire's greatest wish was for Lily to be surrounded by peace." Peace. That was what he called my absence. The man at the desk watched my face change. "Mom?" He sat carefully. I looked up at him and asked, "Are you Mr. Hale?" "Yes." I placed the program on the desk between us with my photo facing up. "My name is Claire Ellis," I said. He blinked once. That is me. His eyes moved from the picture to my face. The color drained out of him slowly. Not in horror, exactly, but in professional fear. Like the floor under his polished little chapel had just shifted. "I am sorry," he said. "There must be a mistake." I finished the sentence for him. "Yes, there is." I did not explain everything. I could not afford to spill myself all over that desk and hope a stranger knew what to do with the pieces. I showed him my driver's license. I showed him the returned birthday card. I showed him Donna's message. He did not touch any of it at first. Then he put on his glasses. When he read Donna's words, his mouth tightened. "Miss Ellis," he said softly. "I am not asking you to fix this," I said. "I am asking you not to warn him before tomorrow." He looked toward the chapel doors, then back at me. "That puts me in a difficult position," he said. I told him I knew. He said the service had been arranged by Mr. Ellis. I told him I knew that too. His fingers rested on the edge of the program. "There is a child involved?" he asked. "My daughter," I said. That changed his face more than my license had. I kept my voice low. He told her I was dead, or he let her believe it. Either way, tomorrow she is going to sit in one of those chairs and mourn me. I am asking for 1 minute before the final tribute. Mr. Hale said nothing. I did not beg. Begging was for Mark. Proof was for everyone else. I told him I would not shout, damage anything, or make his staff part of it. "I will stand up, say who I am, and place the documents on the table." He looked down at the program again and asked what documents. I said, "Enough." He breathed out through his nose. Then he said, "The final tribute is scheduled before the closing prayer." I told him I needed 1 minute before that. He did not say yes immediately. Good. A man who said yes too quickly could be frightened into saying no later. Finally, he nodded once. 1 minute, he said. No disruption before then. I picked up the program. There has already been a disruption, Mr. Hale. It just has not reached the front row yet. At home, I made 3 copies of everything. The returned birthday card, Donna's message. The school access screenshot. Lily's birth certificate, old photos of Lily and me, including the original picture Mark had cropped. I printed that one large enough that no one could pretend not to see the missing baby on my hip. I put each set in a folder, one for the table, one for Mr. Hale, and one for me. Then I wrote Lily a note, not a defense and not a history of what her father had done. She was 8. She did not need my rage poured into her lap. I wrote, "Lily, it is Mom. I am here. I never left you. I love you every minute, even the quiet ones." I folded it once and tucked it into my coat pocket. After that, I took out the blue coat from the back of my closet. Lily used to call it my storm cloud coat because it was blue-gray and too big in the shoulders. She said when I wore it, I looked like weather had decided to become a person. I had not worn it since the separation. Mark hated that coat. He said it made me look tired. Lily loved it. So I brushed lint off the sleeves and hung it on the kitchen chair. That was when the ugly thought came. It rose so fast it almost scared me. I imagined walking into that chapel, kicking over the framed photo, grabbing Mark by his perfect collar and making him say it, making him admit in front of Lily that he had buried me because I would not stay buried in his version of our life. For 1 hot second, I wanted noise. I wanted damage. I wanted his face as wrecked as he had tried to make my child. Then I looked at the folders lined up on my table. No. Mark knew how to use chaos. He had spent years making my pain look like proof against me. So I chose the colder weapon. Paper. The next morning, I dressed slowly. Black pants, white blouse, storm cloud coat, and no jewelry except the watch Lily had once covered in unicorn stickers, and I had never fully cleaned. I tied my hair back because I did not want to touch it once I walked in. My hands were steady until I picked up the returned card. The daisy had shifted inside the envelope, one thin petal pressed against the paper like it was trying to escape. I put it in the folder and drove. At the chapel, cars already filled half the lot. I recognized Mark's dark sedan near the front. Donna's car was beside it. My stomach turned once, hard. Then I saw the hearse parked near the side entrance. Empty, I told myself. Symbolic. A prop. Still, my knees almost gave. Mr. Hale met me near the side door. He looked older than he had the day before. "Miss Ellis," he said. I asked if she was there. He understood who I meant. "Yes," he said. The word hit me clean through the ribs. Lily was inside. My child was sitting somewhere under soft lights in a dress Mark had chosen, listening to people mourn a mother he had hidden from her. Mr. Hale glanced at the folder in my hand. "You understand the timing," I said. "I wait until before the final tribute." He nodded. "I will stand near the lectern." I wanted to thank him, but gratitude felt too small and too strange, so I only said, "Do not stop me unless I give you a reason," he said. "You will not." That almost broke me, not because it was kind, but because he believed me after one day. And Mark had spent years teaching me that belief was something I had to earn by bleeding quietly. I stepped through the side hall and stopped at the back of the chapel. People filled the first few rows. Donna sat stiffly near the front, her hands clenched around a tissue she had not used. Mark stood beside the table, one hand on Lily's shoulder. And Lily, my Lily. She sat in the front row with her hair brushed too smooth and her small shoulders curved inward. She looked smaller than 8, smaller than she had ever looked in my arms. Her face was turned toward the framed photo on the table. My framed photo. Beside it were a white candle, the guest book, and a pen. I pressed my thumbnail into the missing ring mark hard enough to hurt. Then I waited for my own funeral to reach the part where I came back. Mr. Hale stepped to the lectern first. He did not look at me. He looked down at the printed order of service in his hands, then at the people seated in front of him. His voice was careful, low, almost too gentle. "We will now move toward the final tribute." Mark straightened. I saw it from the back. The small lift of his shoulders, and a way his hand tightened on Lily's shoulder before he let go. He was preparing himself for performance, the way other people prepare to pray. Donna turned slightly in her seat. Not all the way, just enough that I saw the edge of her face and the white line of her mouth. She knew. Maybe not exactly what was coming, but she knew the shape of it. Mark stepped toward the table with my framed photo on it. He looked good. That was the disgusting part. Clean suit, fresh shave, and a grief-softened face that made him look noble from a distance. He placed one hand near the guest book like he owned even the signatures inside it. Then Mr. Hale cleared his throat. Before Mr. Ellis speaks, he said, "There is someone here who needs to be acknowledged." A few heads turned. Mark's face changed before he saw me. Just a flicker. Irritation first, then calculation. He turned toward Mr. Hale, almost smiling, ready to correct him and manage the room. Then he saw the back row. He saw me. I did not rush. I walked down the center aisle like my legs belonged to me. My storm cloud coat moved against my knees. The folder was tucked under my left arm. My right hand stayed open at my side because if I clenched it, Lily might see the anger before she saw me. Mark's mouth opened. No sound came out. Lily turned because he had turned. For 1 second, her face was empty, not happy and not scared, just empty in that way. A child looks when reality has stepped out of line. Then her lips parted. "Mom?" That one word almost took me down. I stopped 6 feet from the front row and said, "Hi, brave girl." Her eyes filled so fast it looked painful. She looked from me to the framed photo, then back to me, trying to make the two mothers agree with each other. One on the table, one breathing in front of her. Mark moved first. "Claire," he said too loudly, "this is not the place." That helped me. It really did, because his voice dragged me out of Lily's face and back into the reason I was standing there. He was still trying to decide where I was allowed to exist. I looked at him and said, "You made it the place." A woman near the aisle gasped softly. Someone shifted in a chair. Donna stared down at her lap. Mark took half a step toward me. His face had lost color, but he was still working. I could see him searching for a version of this where he stayed in charge. "You are upsetting Lily," he said. I almost smiled. That was Mark at his purest. Create the wound, then accuse me of making people look at it. I turned to Mr. Hale and asked, "May I?" He nodded once. I walked to the table. My own picture stared back at me from a silver frame. Mark had chosen a good photo. Of course he had. Not my favorite. His. The one where I looked soft enough to mourn and quiet enough not to argue. I placed my folder beside the guest book. The sound was small. The people leaned forward. I took out my driver's license first and laid it flat beside the funeral program. "My name is Claire Ellis," I said. "I am Lily's mother. I am not dead." Mark gave a short, sharp laugh. It sounded wrong in that chapel. "This is a private family matter," he said. "No," I said. "A private family matter is a custody schedule, a birthday plan, a hard conversation." I kept my eyes on him. "This is my photograph on a funeral table while my daughter sits here grieving me." Lily made a sound behind me. I wanted to turn to her, but I knew if I did, I might forget the order I had built to survive this. So I kept going. I placed the returned birthday card on the table in its clear sleeve. This card was mailed to Lily for her birthday. It came back unopened. I laid down the screenshot of the blocked parent account. This shows when my access to her updates was removed. Mark reached for the papers. Mr. Hale moved before I had to. He did not grab Mark. He only stepped close enough to make the boundary visible. "Please do not touch those," Mr. Hale said. Mark's jaw tightened. I placed the old family photo beside the cropped funeral photo. In the original, Lily was on my hip, chubby hands gripping my shirt, her baby face pressed against my collarbone. "In this picture," I said, "my daughter was cut out before it was printed for my memorial. That did it. Not the license. Not the program. The photo. People understood photos. They understood what it meant to crop a child out of her mother's life and put that mother in a frame like a decoration." Murmurs rose and broke apart. Mark's control began to bleed out visibly. His face went pale, then blotchy at the neck. His hands shook when he lifted them, so he shoved them into his pockets. His voice cracked on my name when he said, "Claire, stop." He backed into the chair behind him hard enough that it scraped. The people closest to him leaned away, not dramatically, just enough to show they no longer wanted their shoulders touching his lie. Donna whispered, "Mark." He spun toward her and snapped, "Do not." That was his first real mistake in front of them. Not the lie. The lie could still be dressed up by a man like Mark if the room let him. But the snap showed the hand under the glove. Lily flinched. "I saw it. So did Donna." Her face folded. "Mom," Lily said again, smaller this time. I turned then and crouched in front of her, leaving the papers on the table behind me. "I am here," I said. Her chin trembled. "Dad said you were gone." The chapel seemed to tighten around us. I kept my voice steady because she deserved a mother, not an explosion. "I know," I said. "She said?" "He said you could not come back." "I came back," I told her. She looked at Mark. "You said she was dead." Mark's eyes darted around the room, collecting witnesses and finding no safe place to land. "Shh, misunderstood," he said. Lily stared at him. Even at 8 years old, she knew the difference between misunderstanding and a funeral. Donna stood. Her knees looked weak, but she stood. "Mark," she said, "tell her the truth." He looked at his mother like she had struck him. "You do not get to turn on me now." Donna's tissue fell from her hand. That was the moment his relationship loss began. Not with a shouted confession and not with some grand speech, but with his own mother stepping back from the story she had helped protect because she could. Finally see Lily's face. Donna moved away from him and toward the aisle. "I should have stopped it," she whispered. I did not comfort her. That was not my job. Mark looked at the mourners then. All those people he had invited to admire his grief. A cousin near the front shook his head. A woman who had hugged him when I walked in pulled her purse off the chair beside her. 2 people near the back stood and walked out. Not fast, but with the heavy disgust of people realizing they had been used as props. First, he lost the room. Not because I yelled, but because the proof sat on the table, neat and patient, while his story sweated under the lights. Mark tried again. "You have no idea what she put us through," he said to the room. "You do not know what Claire is like." I stood. That old sentence reached for me. What Claire is like. Years ago, I would have defended myself until my voice broke. I would have listed every meal packed, every fever watched, every bill paid, and every bedtime song sung off-key in the dark. Not that day. I picked up Donna's printed message and placed it on top of the stack. After the service, she will stop asking questions, I read. Donna closed her eyes. Mark stared at the paper like it had betrayed him. Then I looked at him and gave him the line I had carried all night. "You buried me because you could not control me alive." No one answered that because there was no answer clean enough to survive beside the documents. Lily stood from the front row. Mark reached for her automatically. She stepped back. It was small. Half a step. It destroyed him more than any speech could have. "Lily," he said, and his voice broke for real then. "Come here." She shook her head. Donna moved closer, but Lily did not go to her either. She looked at me. I opened my arms but did not grab her. I would not turn her body into another battlefield. She came to me on her own. When her forehead hit my chest, the air left my lungs. She gripped the front of my coat with both hands. My storm cloud coat? Her fingers twisted in the fabric like she was afraid I would vanish if she loosened them. I held her carefully at first, then tighter. "I thought you left me," she said into my shirt. "No," I said. "Never." Mark said my name again. I did not look at him. Mr. Hale did. "I think this service is over," he said. That was the reputation loss made official, not by shouting, but by the man who ran the room ending the performance Mark had paid for. The guest book stayed open. The candle still burned. My photograph still stood there, but nobody was mourning me anymore. They were looking at him. Then came the relationship loss. Donna walked to Lily, stopped 2 feet away, and lowered herself carefully, like she knew she had no right to touch her. "Sweetheart," she said, "I am sorry." Lily did not answer. Donna looked at me next. Her eyes were wet. I still felt nothing gentle toward her. "I helped him," she said. "I thought it would calm down after today." I asked, "Calm what down?" Her mouth shook. "Lily asking for you." Mark made a sound like a warning. Donna flinched, but this time she did not stop. "She cried every night," Donna said. "He said if she had a goodbye, she would accept it." Lily's hands tightened on my coat. The mourners heard that too. No one moved toward Mark now. Not one person. The little island of sympathy he had built around himself disappeared chair by chair, turned face by turned face. He had wanted a room full of people to witness my absence. Instead, they witnessed his exposure. Then came the tangible loss. I kept one arm around Lily and reached into the folder with my free hand. "Your documents," I said to Mark. His eyes narrowed. "What?" I said. "Lily's birth certificate copy." Her medical card copy. "The house key you told me was lost. The school access form you submitted to remove me." His lips pressed together. "You cannot just demand," I said. "I am not demanding. I am naming what you are done holding." Donna looked at him and said, "Give them to her." He laughed once, ugly and desperate. "This is absurd," Mr. Hale's voice cut in, quiet but firm. "Mr. Ellis, I am going to ask you to leave the service area." Mark looked around as if someone would object. No one did. His hands shook again as he pulled a small keyring from his pocket. I saw my old brass house key immediately. It still had the tiny blue dot of nail polish Lily had painted on it one rainy afternoon, because she said keys needed outfits. He held it like he could still negotiate with it. I held out my hand. For once, I did not fill the silence for him. The key dropped into my palm. Then Donna opened her purse. "I have the folder," she said. Mark turned on her. "Mother." She ignored him. Her hands trembled as she took out a brown envelope and placed it on the table. My name was written on it in Mark's sharp block letters. Inside were copies of Lily's papers, a folded access form, and a note with passwords written in Mark's hand. He had not expected to lose control, so he had kept the tools of it close. I slid the envelope under my arm. Mark's face went slack in a way I had never seen before. Not sorry, not ashamed. Empty. A man looking at locks after all the keys had been taken. He stepped backward and hit the chair again. This time he sat down hard, then stood right back up as if the chair had burned him. "Lily," he said. She pressed closer to me. That was her answer. Mr. Hale moved toward the side aisle. "Mr. Ellis." The funeral director did not touch him. He did not need to. Mark walked out with every eye on him and no one following. Donna stayed standing near the front, crying silently into the tissue she had finally picked up. I did not hate her less because she cried. Tears are not payment, but I let her stand there because Lily did not need one more person dragged away in front of her. The chapel emptied slowly. People avoided my eyes at first, then some murmured apologies that meant nothing and everything at the same time. A few touched Lily's shoulder gently as they passed. She did not let go of my coat. When the last of them had gone, the room looked smaller. The candle still burned beside my framed photo. The guest book was open to a page full of names. Names of people who had come to say goodbye to a woman standing 3 feet away. I walked to the table with Lily beside me. My photo looked back at me, soft and obedient. I picked it up and turned it face down. Then I looked at the front row. Mark had reserved the first chair for himself. I knew because his folded program was on it, creased once down the middle, his thumbprint pressed into the corner. I sat in that chair. Not because I was tired, though I was. I sat because he had placed himself there as next of kin, chief mourner, keeper of the story. He had built that seat out of my absence, so I occupied it. Lily stood between my knees, still holding my coat. I reached for the guestbook pen. My hand was steady now. On the open page, beside the printed label that read, "Deceased," I drew one clean line through the word. Then I wrote, "Mother. Claire Ellis, mother." I placed the pen down, took the brass house key from my pocket, and put it in Lily's palm. Her fingers closed around it. "This is ours," I said. She looked at the key, then at me. "You are coming home?" I brushed one strand of hair from her face. I never stopped trying. Mr. Hale stood near the back, quiet enough to be kind. Donna remained by the aisle, waiting for permission I was not ready to give. I gathered the folder, the envelope, and the turned-down photo. Then I took Lily's hand. We walked up the center aisle together. At the chapel doors, I stopped and looked back once. Not at Donna, not at the candle. At the empty front chair where Mark had tried to sit above a lie. Then I opened the door myself. Lily and I stepped into the cold air first. Behind us, the chapel held the remains of my funeral. In my hand, I had the documents. In Lily's hand, she had the key. And for the first time in years, Mark did not have the door. If someone tried to erase you from your own child's life, would you confront them in private? Or let the whole world watch the truth walk in?